The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra was just released, and AI is once again the centerpiece of Samsung's new Galaxy phones. Let's check out what's new. So Samsung's top-of-the-line Galaxy S25 Ultra is getting a slightly larger screen and an updated look that brings it closer to the standard S25 and S25 Plus. All three of the company's new phones will also have AI more tightly woven into the operating system for tasks such as serving up recommended actions for apps, allowing users to search for photos using natural language, and stringing together multiple actions with a single voice command. Samsung's approach with the S25 series is another sign that smartphone makers are increasingly leaning on AI to make their phones stand out. Several of the new features Samsung announced on Wednesday are competitive with Apple Intelligence. The suite of AI features available on the iPhone, iPad, and MacBook further underscoring how the tech giants are vying to offer the very best AI experience possible. Samsung began its big push into new smartphone-based AI features last year with the launch of Galaxy AI. The Galaxy S25 Ultra starts at $1,300, like last year's S24 Ultra. As the largest and most expensive phone in Samsung Galaxy S lineup, it includes a larger 6.9-inch display, a high-resolution 200-megapixel main camera, and a new 50-megapixel ultra-wide camera, along with a familiar S Pen stylus. It's these features that differentiate it from the cheaper $1,000 S25 Plus and $800 S25, which Samsung also announced during Wednesday's Unpacked event. Galaxy AI was the biggest focus of last year's S24 series, and that continues to be the case with the S25 series. But instead of focusing on individual AI-powered features like generative edit for multiple photos or live translate for translating phone calls in different languages, Samsung is incorporating AI into its phones on a more fundamental level. For example, a new tool called AI Select will suggest actions based on what's on your phone screen. The Photo Gallery app will also support conversational speech queries such as find bottles of wine from France, much like photo apps from Apple and Google. What perhaps even more interesting is that Samsung is incorporating this into the settings menu so that you can type in a query such as quote unquote, "My eyes are hurting, can you help with the screen?" And now, that screen will adjust the blue light filter and lower brightness. Apple similarly gave Siri the ability to answer tech support questions about its devices with the arrival of Apple Intelligence. Circle to Search, which emerged as being one of the more popular phone-based AI features in 2024, is also getting an updated look with the ability to recognize sound. Samsung is improving the way voice commands work on Galaxy S25 series, undoubtedly a move to more closely compete with Apple's Siri and OpenAI's ChatGPT. You will be able to long press the power button and issue more complex commands such as get me my schedule for this year's Kansas City Chiefs matches and add them to my calendar, or find me a pet-friendly vegan restaurant nearby and send it in a text message. Samsung and Google apps will be supported, as well as certain third-party apps including WhatsApp and Spotify, just to kick things off. Now, like many Galaxy AI features, these voice commands will use a combination of Google and Samsung models, with the difference depending on the task at hand. A search-related query might use Google, for example, while saving information to Samsung Notes would obviously involve Samsung's model. Samsung is also using a large language model to make recommendations based on your personal routines by examining data from apps like the web browser, photo gallery, Samsung Health, Samsung Wallet, Samsung Smart Things. You get the idea. So if your bedroom's temperature is too high and your Galaxy Ring knows you keep waking up in the middle of the night, Samsung might suggest that you set a routine to turn down the temperature on your SmartThings app thermostat once you fall asleep. The company says personal data will be stored on the device only in the same area of its Samsung Knox mobile security platform where biometric data is kept safe. Samsung is attempting to make the lock screen and home screen more helpful with new features called Now Brief and Now Bar. The Now Brief is exactly what it sounds like, a summary of information such as how you slept, the weather forecast, scheduling reminders, routine suggestions based on your habits. The Now Bar, on the other hand, kind of reminds me of the iPhone's dynamic island and live actions function. It's a tiny space on the bottom of the lock screen for showcasing information such as sports scores or real-life navigation without having to unlock your phone. Some of these new AI features feel similar to tools that have emerged over the past decade in the Internet of Things era, such as the ability to surface recommendations based on personal habits and routines. Others, like the revamped voice assistant, seem like an attempt to keep pace with rivals like Apple Siri, which will also gain the ability to work with apps in the future. However, Apple has not launched this capability yet, and it's been rolling out specific Apple Intelligence features in phases through software updates. Now, Samsung says all of its newly announced AI tools will be available on the S25 series from day one. Hallelujah. It's promising to see smartphone AI moving in a direction that impacts general usage rather than individual features, right, that are easily forgettable. I know I forget a ton of the features that are on my current devices. Still, I would like to have seen AI software specifically designed for the S25 Ultra device and its S Pen to help it further stand out from the S25 and S25 Plus. Now let's talk about the S25 Ultra's new look in special Snapdragon chip. Since 2022, Samsung Ultra phones have essentially looked like replicas of the Galaxy Note, the ever-famous Samsung Galaxy Note 20, my favorite device, Note 20 Ultra, my absolute favorite phone, right? With their boxy edges and somewhat brutal aesthetic designs. More boxy, but less brutal. Anyways, the Galaxy S25 Ultra has rounded edges that make it look more like a larger version of the S25 and S25 Plus, which is not a bad thing, along with slimmer bezels that give the phone a slightly larger 6.9-inch screen. In terms of performance, the S25 series will run on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy, continuing the tradition Samsung has established in recent years, putting a quote-unquote customized version of Qualcomm's latest CPU in its new phones. The company claims this version of the 8 Elite is overclocked higher than non-Galaxy devices using that same comparable chip, meaning it should enable for faster performance. The Ultra, in particular, has a 40% larger vapor chamber for superior heat dissipation compared to the S24 Ultra, Samsung was saying, which make it more suitable for gaming. Duh. The new processor should also enhance power efficiency and battery life. However, Samsung is not making any claims about battery life improvements, and charging speeds remain the same, which is unfortunate to see. This means the base S25 will have a 25-watt wire charging, while the S25 Plus and S25 Ultra will support 45-watt wire charging. It's a bit disappointing considering the OnePlus 13 supports 80 and 100-watt fast charging. Now, when it comes to the cameras, the S25 Ultra will see the biggest improvement in its ultra-wide sensor, which is getting upgraded to a 50 megapixel, up from 12 megapixels. Otherwise, it will have a 200 megapixel main sensor, a 50 megapixel 5x telephoto camera, and a 10 megapixel 3x zoom camera like last year's Ultra. Thankfully, the S25 series will get 7 years of operating system updates and 7 years of security patches like the previous models, meaning these phones should last quite some time. Overall, the S25 Ultra feels like an incremental step up from the S24 Ultra. With minimal hardware changes, there's a lot riding on AI and to show how Samsung phones are evolving. Now, here comes the question everybody is going to ask themselves. Should you upgrade? Well, personally, my answer is yes. Hell yes. I'm very excited. But look, I don't blame you if you're not. For me personally, I am an artist, right? And I look for mobile technology and electronic devices, and I look at that in a whole, right? Or in a vacuum, meaning taking all things out of consideration, what I want this device. I don't care what the specs were this year compared to last year or doesn't have from the previous version. I'm also, as I mentioned, an artist, so I examine these devices a little more closely aesthetically, the way it looks, the dimensions, the curves, the colors, than more so than the average person. Is it visually appealing? So for me, the new S25 Ultra checks all those boxes in my book. Does the fact that Samsung removed Bluetooth functionality to this year's S Pen bother me? No. I don't use the air gesture functions. In fact, very few people did. In a report last year by Mobile Technonics, only 7% of Ultra users actually used the Bluetooth air gesture feature. So I understand why Samsung chose to remove it from this year's device. Now, same screen as last year. I don't care. It's freaking awesome. It does have an updated front glass display, the Gorilla Glass Armor 2, and updated second generation anti-reflective coating on the front as well. So all in all, it's an upgrade in my book. Now, for the other users, I completely understand if you're going to hold out for next year's model, right? If you're one of those that just look at the spec sheet, yeah, not much has changed, minus the new beast mode CPU. And look, I know these are not cheap. The ultimate determining factor is the price when it comes to decision time. Samsung did keep the prices the same, but even after trading in my S24 Ultra for $900, you still have to shell out a few $100s to upgrade, not to mention costs for new cases, accessories, and so on. So again, I totally get it if you're going to sit this one out. I mean, we are rumored to see a real design change overhaul for the S26 series, including the S26 Ultra. But if you are someone like me who has to be on the cutting edge of technology, it's a no-brainer. Our S25 Ultra should be here this time next week with a bunch of cases to review, as well as everything else you can think of. So make sure you subscribe to the eSIM Studios YouTube channel for all your S25 Ultra coverage and so much more. I really appreciate your time. Please be safe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.